Hi all, I have an interesting game to show you from the Biel tournaments, Biel Grandmaster tournaments currently being held. The Accentus Biel GM tournament, which is part of this year's Biel International Chess Festival, is a 6-player double round robin. So it takes place from the 22nd of July to the 1st of August in Biel, Switzerland. Players include the world champion Magnus Carlsen, Mehmed Jarov, Maxim Vachelograve, or MVL as is shortened, to Peter Svidler, David Navara, and the local player hero Nico Georgiadis. Time control 100 minutes for 40 moves, followed by 50 minutes for 20 moves, and then 15 minutes to the end of the game, plus a 30-second increment starting from move 1. So plenty of time here. Let's see this game. Magnus Carlsen against David Navara. d4 for Magnus. We have knight f6, knight f3, d5, c4, e6, bishop g5. We go into the Rogozin variation. So bishop b4 check, knight c3, h6. Black grabs the dark square bishop by prompting for h6. White voluntarily gives up the dark square bishop here. After e3, sometimes these c5 and e5 squares can be controlled by white quite often. Black castles, rook c1. Black is very energetic here to stop a c5 bind and keeps things very solid. Black takes on c4 and an immediate c5. Now Magnus plays d takes c5, and you might be thinking, hold on a sec, this is a kind of symmetrical pawn structure. If white castled instead, well, again, it's not that exciting here after knight takes. Bishop d7, queen b3. This is a roughly even position, technically. So, okay, so we have this position, d takes c5, knight d7. White castles, knight takes c5, so a symmetrical pawn structure. Black has got rook d8 available to hit the queen here. White plays knight b5. Now this is, it's carrying some venom with a3 and b4. So it's carrying some venom. a6 is played, knight bd4, b5 now, very aggressive b5. And the bishop retreats to e2. Interesting to consider here would be a3. For example, b takes c4, taking here, rook takes c5. This position is even though. So if we have a look at this, if bishop a5 instead, then actually white might be able to get a tiny advantage here. After rook takes c5 there, small advantage. So, okay, so the bishop actually retreated here. Bishop e2. And we have e5, and this is very, very forceful from David Navara. If he plays the threat is a3. You know, if he plays, let's just give a token move a3. This is just winning a piece. So he's got to do something, and this seems to be very logical and energetic to play e5 here, opening up the bishop. Seems completely logical, a logical move. But there's a bit of a surprising move here. Well, not that surprising if you consider the alternatives. Magnus plays knight c2. There's no real alternative here, because if knight b3, this forcing move rook d8 is actually embarrassing the queen quite substantially. Where does the queen go? The queen hasn't got e1, because we just take, and the queen hasn't got c2 because here bishop f5 is checkmating the queen basically. e4 is only a temporary reprieve. Black has a gigantic advantage there. So this is a very, very interesting continuation with knight c2, because it implies actually well, black has to go in with rook d8. If black tries to move the bishop rather, then queen d5 is strong, hitting the rook and e5. And here queen takes e5 with a small edge, not taking on a8, because bishop b7, this is actually okay for black after g5. This should be a small edge to black. So rook d8, this seems really dangerous, winning the queen. What did Magnus have in mind? I wonder if you can guess if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. Okay, there's not too many alternatives. Knight takes b4, so it's a queen sack for a rook and a bishop here, but look at this position. The knight's hanging. White's got knight d5 with tempo. That looks like a good square. It's going to harass the queen. So black is actually having to do a further concession here. Possibly strongest, knight d7. It seems as though this might have actually been possible. If white tries to force matters with rook takes c8 to get two pieces, this doesn't work very well after a5. This is awkward for white's piece coordination. Even if white has three pieces, it's not enough really. That would be terrible for white. And equally, this doesn't help. Here, queen takes a2, and it's black that's in the driving seat with a big advantage. So very, very interesting position here. Let's go back. So this is the critical position when knight d7. It seems as though this might be the safest move, on my analysis anyway. So in the game a5 was played. Now knight d5 hits the queen, and also of course the knight's hanging. We have queen d6 protecting the knight. Now knight takes e5, trying to drag the queen away from c5. Black actually didn't play queen takes e5. David Navara played the active bishop b7, so that seems a very good move. If queen takes e5, this position should be, actually it should be a small edge here. This is a small edge for white, this position. So maybe, I think David Navara's move is actually very good here, bishop b7. As an alternative as well, if queen takes b2 here, this position, check, this position, knight g6 takes, this is actually an advantage to white there. So it's a bit tricky, this stuff. So yeah, so taking on e5 is asking for a bit of trouble. Bishop b7 might be, let's see, bishop b7 might be available here. No, again, white ends up with a small edge here. I mentioned that actually. So, okay, so bishop b7 in this position, and we have bishop f3, rook c8, knight g4. Now there's a threat of knight f6 winning the queen. Just to put that on the board as a token move. This is threatened. The knight d f6 check, winning the queen. So that would be a big advantage to white. So what does black do about that? Well, David Navara puts his queen on f8. Also, interesting is king f8 actually. So white will just get into a mess, I believe, on this because of knight d3. It's all a bit hairy. The rooks trade. You might think a self pin, but then taking there. And this should be actually a bit better for black, this continuation. So that's actually a big advantage to black. So queen f8 is interesting. We have h4. So that's a generally useful move for the back row to be a bit safer to avoid any future back row mates, but it's also a good space gaining move. Knight d7. Now a pair of rooks come off. Bishop takes c8, not queen takes c8, because knight e7 check wins the queen. That'll be the end of the game there. So bishop takes c8. We have a3, h5, knight h2, g6. So it's an interesting situation. Bishop e2, knight e5, an active knight. Black could get into trouble if he tries to protect the pawn. Let's say this, then knight c7 just gets into trouble basically. But it's still fairly even actually. It's going to be difficult to crack black. But here, okay, knight e5. The bishop takes that pawn anyway. We have bishop e7, so black's pieces are quite active. Knight c3, queen e7, rook d4, queen e6. So the queen wants to plunge into b3 here. That's to put pressure on the queen side. That happens. Knight f1, queen comes in there. Rook protects the pawn. Now this quite aggressive move, knight c4. Now here, I mean, if black wanted to play it safe, queen e6 seems to be fairly stable. For example, white could never dare to play f4, that would be just totally terrible. So say rook d4, queen f5. You know, not too much seems to be going on there. It seems to have a dynamic equality to it. And if white went crazy, of course, then there'll be a big problem, though, like this sort of continuation where h4 is a problem and e3 is a problem, so that's to be avoided. But white could stabilize there. So anyway, in the game though, knight c4 was played, and this is interesting. Magnus technically could, if he wants, he just takes the bishop and he keeps playing simple. This position, it should be fairly simple for both sides to maintain equality, but instead there's a bit of a more aggressive idea altogether, which is rook d7 played, which targets f7 in some of the variations now. So we have knight takes, rook takes, queen takes, and now f7 is targeted. And it seems here black had a key defense, funny enough, to symmetrically attack f2. This wasn't played. Knight d1 seems okay for black. This is probably technically best. In the game, king f8 was played. Let's have a look at this knight d1 for a moment. So f2 under pressure, and this can be handy for double attacks. So say bishop takes f7, king f8. This, you can see here, white has got a big advantage there, but there's a different way of playing this with king h8. And here, let's say check, rook b7 here. This is fine for black, because if ever bishop takes, then that's loose and that's a target. So in fact, there's queen f6 hitting g6 and f2, and this would actually be a big advantage to black. So this is why it seems as though knight d1 keeps the pressure on white a bit, but king f8 doesn't so much. And in fact, so after king f8, Magnus, I believe, has got what he wanted. He's got a position which is a little bit potentially more dangerous for black, it seems. So here, this position, without the black having the bishop, is a lonesome queen here, which we've seen some games of Leela Zero recently, where Leela Zero also made the opponent have just the queen in the end in one of the games we've seen recently. So this is an interesting position. Can white build an aggressive fortress? Rook d2, queen a4, rook d3, queen takes h4. So that was snagging a pawn. This double attack was snagging a pawn. But white is still a pawn up. Check, rook d4, queen e7, a4, queen a3, g3. The time control is perfect to play out these positions. Just carry on and on these positions because of the increments, etc. So king g2, g5 was played. It seems as though this might be a bit on the loose side, perhaps. Easy to say. Queen c1. This idea of playing the check. This position should be tenable, it seems, for black. This kind of situation should be tenable, but this g5, maybe it's a little bit on the loose side. We have knight d2, and already the idea of knight e4 hitting g5, it's a bit uncomfortable because there's also knight f6 to hit h5 on a fork. We have g4, knight e4. It seems dangerous. Now black could play king f7 here, and for example here, it seems as though this should be fine for black as well. There's possibilities even to break with h4 with an even position, but we have queen c1, and this doesn't seem entirely a healthy thing to drop the h5 pawn if it could have been avoided. So check, winning the h5 pawn. Check king g1. The checks run out a bit here now. So white's 2 pawns up. If queen c2 here, doesn't matter really. Check, and here, this is good for white. White's even going to pick up g4. So this starts to look fairly miserable now for black. check. But even here, I mean, there's still a lot of potential resistance, it seems. Black played king g5. It seems queen c8. And white has to be really kind of careful here. I'll give you an example. Check this position with queen c2. Always keeping an eye on a4 and f2. Stops the rook taking on g4 because of queen f2. Stops e4 because of queen a4. And say we have this position. Black can sustain the pressure, basically, to keep things maybe very, very difficult to break down black, if it is possible. And you might think that's surprising because white's like 2 pawns up. But with the pressure on f2 and a4 here, it might be in dynamic equilibrium. But in the game, we have actually, after knight g2, we had the move king g5. This is slightly different now. Rook f4, with the purpose of holding f2 and also trying for e4, e5. We have queen d1, knight h4, queen c2. Now this is good because it's holding on to a4, so always e4, there's queen a4, knight f5. But now here, I think black stumbled, David Navara stumbled. He has to keep an eye on a4 to stop e4, because otherwise this is a really dangerous running past pawn. He actually played queen d3. It seems queen c6 might be a sterner resistance, keeping an eye on a4. So for example, e4 we could just take here, and this would be a disaster for white after taking, because then there's an outside winning pass pawn for black. So white would have to be careful as well if he lost a4. But in the game, yeah, we have this might be a clear relative mistake, queen d3. Because now e4 and the fortress is running with an accumulating advantage here, basically. Queen d7, e5. This pawn is really dangerous. It seems as though Magnus has basically justified everything now, and it's black's in big trouble now. So we have check, and black took here. If the king retreats, then rook f6 is winning anyway. That's totally winning that position after taking. Sorry, king g6, just fork the king and queen. That's over. So this is totally, it's now lost for black. Here, there's numerous ways of winning. f4 was chosen. There's also even e6, because f3 is just totally winning. This position is totally winning. But in the game, so we had f4 being played, which is winning as well. After takes king f2. Here it's total win. White's going to just queen the a pawn if black grabs this. If the game finished here, if we continue, there's no time to get back, because black has not got the chance to construct a drawing position. The king can be kept out, and then the pawn queens, for example. So anyway, I thought it would be interesting to cover Biel, human game for changes to the Leela games, just for a bit of variety. So I hope you got something out of this game. So it's interesting. Magnus's kind of queen sack for 2 pieces. So very, very interesting first round game there from the world champion, really going for it. Not just having a draw, really going for it and taking some risks there. You could see also this continuation where he wanted to take out black's bishop, so leave that very promising fortress. Once black made a slight slip up, that was it. So interesting game there from Biel. I hope you enjoyed it. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks so much.